In my past musings, I have been encouraging everyone on self-care, and my thing about self-care is that it is an intentional and conscious act. It is an act that you are consciously making to intentionally take care of yourself, your being. And I've been encouraging you guys to try new things, that maybe one thing is fabulous during one moment and you don't like it later. So you kind of need to have this arsenal of different self-care techniques and activities that you can draw from at different times in your life. And so I'm taking my own advice. Like I said, I'm a work in progress. I'm a learner as much as I am a teacher. And I decided that I was going to expand my own self-care horizons just a little bit. And I sat back and said, what will fill my cup right now? What do I want to do? And how can I improve my own state of being right now? And I used to go to the gym with one of my siblings. My sister would come to my house. The gym was close to my house. And so she would come and I would get up in the morning, not always thrilled that I was going to the gym, but knowing that she was coming and would be waiting for me meant that I would get out of bed, I would get dressed and be ready. And it did the same for her. She knew, while she was 10 minutes away from me, she knew that I was going to be waiting for her. So it kept us both accountable. And I was in the best shape of my life. It was between having my two children. I loved leg day. I loved the strength. I loved the amount of weight that I could lift. And I just felt so confident and powerful and strong. And it was a beautiful time in life for me. The gym was my moment of self-care. And while I trudged a little bit through it in the beginning because, she's coming, I have to do this, I eventually just got on board. And then I got pregnant with my second son. And as the pregnancy progressed, I had to ebb back on the gym a bit. So I thought, if that was so good for me then, and I loved it then, maybe I need to find a workout partner here that I could see if that feels good as a new self-care opportunity. And my husband found a place that specializes in just personal training. So it's you and this trainer, and they are taking you through the ropes. And there weren't very many people in the gym. So I thought, okay, fine, I will try this. And at first I loved it. I went in and it was just me and my trainer, and she was always switching up the activities. So the workouts were never the same. It was just nice to have such a variety, and we were working my entire body. And I had decided that I was going to go because I wanted to love myself a little bit more. I wanted to shave a little bit of extra skin off here and tone down there a little bit. She was constantly impressed with my strength and my flexibility. She was just like, I was lifting more than she was, which kind of blew me away in the beginning. And then one day I was going in, and as I drove to the gym, I just thought, I'm strong. I may not look it, but I am one strong woman. And why am I putting myself through this? What was my goal? And I went through my workout with her that day, and the whole time I was in my head saying, why am I putting my body through this? I don't like myself. Well, if I don't like myself, is punishing myself actually going to be the way that I get there to liking myself? And then I just kept coming back to the fact that I am a very strong, able, confident woman. And so I decided, you know what? I could get these same results and love myself by doing gentler workouts at home, less intense workouts at home. And I can just be amazed at my age and how healthy I am and the way that I eat and the way that my body functions and moves, and that I am so strong. So I can rejoice in my body and just celebrate that. I don't need to go to a gym. So I decided that personal training was not for me and not a self-care thing, because it was more of a burden than an uplifting thing. So then I thought, well, what am I going to do now? What's my next exploration into self-care? And floating came across my plate a couple of times. Now, if you haven't heard of it, floating is basically there's this tank and it has 10 inches of water that have 1,000 pounds of Epsom salts within the water. So you get into this and you lay down, and because of the concentration of salt, your body just floats. And it's a dark chamber. You close the door and the light is off and it's pitch black inside and you don't hear anything, and the water is body temp. So some people have these very spiritual moments. Other people just really enjoy letting go of life for a little bit and giving themselves that break, and they have physical and mental benefits from floating. And I had read all about these fantastic things and I thought, I really want to try that. I'm going to give it a shot. So I found a place close to my house. I drove in and I was introduced to the tank and the room that the tank was in. And you have to shower and get all of your stuff off because it can mess with the water. And I looked at the tank and I had a little bit of a panic attack because all of these fears of like being buried alive or drowning or all this, they just kind of popped into my head as I'm staring at this long tank that I needed to climb into. But I did it. I'm really proud to say that I did it. The jury's still out. I haven't decided whether or not I want to float again. It was so unique because you're laying there and all of a sudden your arms and legs, they don't feel like they're attached. You just are. It's so unique. It is so unique. And about the time that I was thinking, I can't handle this anymore, I need to get out, I don't care if it's only been a half an hour, that's when this music turned on and let me know that I'd been in there for an hour and a half. So I was really proud of myself for trying something new and seeing if that was something that I want to do. I might wait and see if it works at a different point in my natural rhythms and if it's better then. But floating, unique. If you haven't tried it, try it. After that, I thought, well, what's my next? What's my next exploration? And a friend of mine mentioned that an old friend of mine teaches pottery classes. Well, I love going into the pottery studios and painting a piece of pottery and then having them fire it and then going back and picking up this fabulous little creation that you've just made. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll just try pottery. So I contacted this old friend that I was in theater with 10 years ago and said, hey, how about a personal lesson? And he was really excited to work with me. He kept warning me, now do not be discouraged. If you can't get it right off the top, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You just scrap it and start again. This is the way it goes. And so I was like, okay, this is great. The first thing he taught me was centering. And that's where you throw the clay onto the wheel and then you have to get it into the center, because if it's not in the center, there's no way that you can create anything from it. It's just going to be too wobbly and funky. And you center it, and then there are these first 5 steps on how to make this cylinder on the wheel. I was worried about whether or not I'd like that mud on my fingers and my hands, but I loved it. I loved feeling the water and the clay in my hands and just the experience of the way that it spins and the way that you can mold it and move with it. And it was so soothing and fabulous that I left that first lesson thinking, I'm so excited to go back, which kind of surprised me. And yet it also was so thrilling and felt so good in my self-careness. And I went back the next week. And he suggested that we practice centering and doing that a little bit more. And I said, that's great. And I was struggling. I was really struggling. I was really frustrated because I could not get the clay to respond. I couldn't get it to center. I couldn't get it wet enough. I couldn't get it, just nothing was working. And I was so annoyed. And so I just took my hands off the clay and I stopped the wheel and I went inward and I thought, what is my issue? What do I need to let go of? Let's try this again. I recognized that I had brought in the world with me and that I needed to let go of the world so that I could just be present with the clay. And as soon as I stopped and took that breath and said, I am here in this moment, I am present, I let a deep breath out. I started the wheel, got a little water on my hands, and it centered like that. It was a matter of just letting the world go, being present in the moment, being consciously intentional in the act in that moment. It's centered. I was able to open it up. I had this beautiful cylinder. I shaped it right into a mug-like shape. And it was just so perfect and so easy and so simple. And it was because I stopped and I decided that it was time to be present in that moment. So my hope is that you are trying new things. My hope is that you're expanding your opportunities for self-care and you're trying things that you never thought that you would like pottery or my floating or even going to personal training and pushing myself physically. I hope that you're trying new things. I hope you're expanding and maybe you never ever thought that as an adult you would like to color, and yet you find that there are just moments sitting down and putting that colored pencil to paper feels so cathartic and healing and wonderful in that moment. So I hope that you share with me the new things of self-care that come across and you are just excited and ecstatic to share. And maybe you have suggestions for me as well, that maybe I should try something new. Maybe you have this unique thing and you think that I might like it too. So share that with me. What brings you joy? What brings you peace? And keep expanding out. What self-care can you do to fill your own cup?